Hey, welcome to Impress the Boss. I'm Catherine.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Valerie.
And we're here to help you stand out without working overtime. Welcome back from vacation to the new year. Happy 2020,
Happy
everyone.
2020. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Hope you had a crazy time celebrating the dawn of the new decade. And you're probably experiencing a sugar hangover.
Yes, for sure.
I know I am.
That makes me laugh. Like, I bet there's going to be a movie called that, The Dawn of the New Decade.
Da, da, da.
That's awesome.
So at the dawn of the new decade, we're really excited to get back into Impress the Boss and how we're going to make a difference this year, how we're going to stand out at work, how we're going to increase our influence, expand our skills, and really stand out with our bosses and our work colleagues.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
One of the things that we have seen is that oftentimes that sugar rush, that sugar hangover leads to kind of the blues, the beginning of the year blues. And so we've been thinking and talking about how to kind of overcome that and how to move into the new year with energy and excitement and enthusiasm and to be looking forward to what lies ahead. So one of the things that we wanted to share with you is just focusing on what is compelling to you and what is exciting to you and creating a vision for yourself. Last week, we charged you with the idea of creating a plan for January, February, and March of what do we want the Q1 to look like. And so just continuing with that theme of what is it that you envisioned for yourself for this year that will really help you to kind of get over those vacation blues or end of the year time off blues. So we really hope that you'll lean into that.
So we wanted today to recap a little bit about season 1 and also dig into the Bob's characters. So we've gotten a lot of questions over the last months about who are these Bobs? It's a little confusing to people. So we wanted to give you some backstory and just share about the origin of where the Bobs came from. So before we begin, I'll give you a little download on what happened last year. And if you have not caught up, there's a couple key episodes that you might be interested in. If you're a manager, check out You're the Boss episodes. You can go to our website, impresstheboss.com. And if you scroll to the bottom of the front page, you click on a button that says Get to Know the Bobs, figure out which Bob you most identify with, and then go listen to that episode.
That's right.
So that way you can get an understanding of what this type of persona really reflects. So we got to meet Bobby Parton, which was a fan favorite, a play on Dolly Parton. Mm-hmm. We got to meet Bob Spock, which I personally like because it's the sci-fi, sci-fi reference there. And then we got to meet Bob Dean, a play on James Dean. We got to meet a number of other ones as well. So hope you enjoyed last year, and we're looking forward to moving into this year. We've got a lot of great things in store for you too. So let's talk a little bit about why the Bobs. Now, Valerie, the Bobs really originated with you and I maybe 15 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it was about 15 years ago. It seems like forever.
Seems like forever ago. And the Bobs came about because Valerie and I were friends at that time, and we had,
and hopefully we're still friends.
I don't know. I mean, every day is a different challenge. And so we have two friends that we all four hung out with a lot, and they were the Joes. It was just a nickname that I don't even know where the Joes originated.
That wasn't their names?
That wasn't their names.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, we should probably bring the Joes on at one point and get their behind the story.
Yeah, we'll get their backstory.
Even till this day, it's Joe and Joe.
Yeah, Joe and Joe.
So Joes, if you're listening, this is your takeaway. Call us. Come be on our show.
Yes.
But no, in all seriousness, yes, the Bobs came from the Joes.
So it was just these two really good friends, and somehow they had started calling each other Joe. And so we were all hanging out one day, walking along the street, and there was this big sign. And what did the sign say?
It said, "Beware a Bob." Actually, it was probably Bob the dog. Beware a Bob.
Got it. Yeah.
And so one of the Joes said, we're going to call you guys the Bobs. That's it.
Beware of the Bobs.
Beware of the Bobs. Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
So
That's
it
awesome.
just kind of stuck. So the Joes started calling Valerie and I the Bobs. Just, I don't know, to be, because we're weird. And
Actually, it was Bobcat and Bob V.
Bob V. Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right. Bobcat. And
Because the Joes are Joe and Joe
we're protecting their privacy.
Protecting the innocent.
And
Yeah,
then
protecting
actually
the
it
innocent.
moved to Joey Pickle.
Oh, yeah. So,
Actually, one of the Joes I named Pickle, and
So
that
her
came
name's-
from a I don't even know where that came
I
from.
don't know. So we give people nicknames. Anyway,
Yes.
so we started going on these trips, like the Bob Joe trips and Bob Joe show, and we would just like have fun together. And that's where this name Bob came from.
I love it.
And so it was just kind of this nickname that the Joes called Valerie and I. And so the Bob characters kind of originated out of this idea that everyone's a Bob. I mean, you're just like,
Yes.
it's such a, it's a, at least for American culture, it's very, it's very, everyone could just be named Bob or Bobby. It's kind of like John Doe or,
Just a
Jane
Bob.
Doe. It's just,
Yeah.
Yes.
there's nothing really associated with the name Bob. And so being able to create these characters was kind of a play on, something fun that Valerie and I had with our friends the Joes. But it's also this idea of like depersonalizing the workplace into these personas where we can maybe take a step back and really start to understand people and understand their perception and their perspective and really being able to engage in a new way. So that's the backstory of the Bobs. So if you're wondering where the Bobs came from, it's because
It's just nicknames.
they're just nicknames, and we've turned it into this funny thing that we thought would be fun. I think the other thing behind that is there's so much out there that's so serious about work. And we wanted to bring something that was just, that would make us laugh and that we could have fun with.
Have light conversation.
Yeah. And just be engaging with that wasn't okay, here is your performance review and here's your metrics and we're checking all these things off and go do all this more responsibility that you don't have space for in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we wanted to create this lightheartedness to things that are very serious in our lives. too.
Absolutely. We also wanted to make sure that like there's so many personality assessments out there that are so numbers and letters driven that it kind of feels like the people get lost in that. Like, what number are you? What combination of letters are you?
INFJ.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And so it loses that sense of, I'm an actual human being. Like I have a name and a persona and all of that. So that was one of our reasons too of, we want to be fun and lighthearted, and it has a great history from you gals and your friends, but also this like, no, we are people, and we have different characteristics that we embody that go beyond just numbers and letters. Yeah.
And I think the practicality of it too, it's from our backgrounds, coming from organizational leadership, getting a PhD in leadership and studying all these leadership theories and styles. It was fun during our time of studying, of going through our program, of looking at each of these leadership styles and referring to them as a Bob. Well, that's a Bob. That's a Bob. That's a Bob. And out of that comes into, a Bob Ross or a Bob Spock, because it's also tying the practicality of putting a name to also a leadership trait or a leadership style.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, not every tip out there is going to work for every single person, right? And there's so many different personalities that there are general trends that we can abide by. And even the Bobs, if you find a Bob that you relate to, you might not identify with that Bob 100%. Maybe in general, or maybe you identify with 2 or 3. Maybe it depends on the day or how you feel when you wake up.
Right.
But it just helps us in general to at Laurel, as you mentioned, personify and relate to on a personal level. And then Valerie, as you talked about, really becoming tactical in, if this is my kind of general personality type, how can I execute well without trying to change core pieces of who I am that will just never change?
Yeah, for sure. We're excited over the next couple months that we're going to feature the same 9 Bobs that you've already met, that we've already talked about, but have some guests with us that will personify those and bring those to life for us.
And that there's these strengths and weaknesses of each Bob, right?
Yes.
So every single one of us has drawbacks to our personalities and to how we work with others. And so it's how do we maximize our strengths? How do we cover our blind spots or work with people around us to cover our blind spots?
That's right.
And then how do we work together as a group, as a team, as colleagues to move forward? And it kind of goes back to this idea of Q1. Like Laurel, you mentioned this at the beginning. If you're planning for the next 3 months, what do you need to execute? But it's not just about you're a little robot at work and you're, you know, like entering data into the computer. It's how can you grow? How can you leverage what you're great at and really excel in those areas? But also, okay, I know that this is going to happen to me. It always happens to me. How do I make sure it's covered? And maybe I just need someone else to help me make sure it's covered.
Love that.
And then you go find a Bob who's good at that. And, you know, that
There
Bob
you
can
go.
help
Right.
you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I think our Bob characters too make it kind of an easy way to bring that self-awareness of who we are. Sometimes I think we're blinded. I know I'm blinded, you know, to my personality, good traits and bad traits, and I should say bad traits, but and it's just kind of another way that we like to use our Bob characters, because when you have like a description of a Bob, it's easy for ourselves, or we want it to be easy for you as listeners to be able to identify with a Bob, to bring that self-awareness, because sometimes we don't know that we're doing these different things, and that's part of our Bobs
awesome.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited to have you join us this year. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity around who the Bobs are and what they're about. You'll get to meet more Bobs eventually in the future, but this season we're refocusing, as Laurel mentioned, on our 9 Bobs. Got some great guest speakers around each Bob personality. And if you have any questions about the Bobs, shoot us an email. Or if you want to share about which Bob you are and which Bob you really identify with, we'd love to hear about your journey and your story. Use hashtag #ImpressTheBoss. Thanks for joining us. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social for your daily standout tips, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to use the hashtag #ImpressTheBoss and share your journey with us. And until next time, Bob's out.